Welcome everyone to another long-awaited episode of the Films of series, and this episode we are doing Greg's pick, and it is John McTiernan.
Let's go.
So let us know why you picked John McTiernan.
So I was trying. I picked it like 8 months ago, so I'm trying to remember. It was one of those things. I was trying to find something like, what are directors that have done a lot of movies that we like? And I just rewatched Last Action Hero with some buddies. I was like, who did this movie? And I was like, holy buckets. I didn't realize like John McTiernan,
Hold on, stop down. You got a 4K of Last Action Hero?
Here's the thing. It was $5 to buy on Amazon
I'm just
digital.
stunned that it exists. That's all.
Or it was $11 for the 4K.
Yep.
Now, I did good math.
That's good math. Sorry.
I still need it. I only have it digital, so I need
it's
to get
still
it.
$11
On Best Buy?
on Amazon.
Ooh, really?
Yep.
Well,
yep.
Well.
Christmas is coming early to Greg.
Well, Christmas has already come early. I went to the comic book store that was closing down, and
there it is.
I bought some comic books that my wife has now hidden and is wrapping them for me. That my kid's like, won't he know his Christmas gifts?
Or is it like that Bond movie, Christmas comes twice this year?
So I picked out my Christmas gifts this year, so it's pretty good. So
I will say I put you onto it when Comic Mint had that foil Alex Ross Batman cover for free if you just had to pay the shipping.
Yep.
So I managed to get in on that. Shipping the 19th.
Nice.
All right, so you noticed the genius behind Last Action Hero.
Well, I was just surprised at like his plethora of other movies. Some that are considered fantastic movies and some that aren't, but there are a lot on there that people would probably be like, oh my goodness, yes. Like that's so I was like, this would be an interesting one to explore a little bit, because I think there are some movies that are like people's favorite movies up there, and then possibly some of the worst movies out there, dude. Like, so like the trajectory is buck wild. And I just thought it would make for a really interesting conversation, because like sometimes when you're doing these, it's like, oh, they're really good, and like but there are some really bad ones.
Astronomical start to his career, though. Like, honestly, your first two movies are just staples.
I mean, you're not counting Nomads?
Not counting Nomads. Okay, your first
Dan's excluding the one that was his first movie. I'm like, but the other ones are great.
I've never seen I will state I've never seen Nomads.
Same.
So that one's one that I have yet to see.
Not easy to
Pierce
find.
Brosnan's in it, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I believe he was in that. What was that show he did with, I think, Lynn Redgrave when it was on TV?
Remington Steele.
Remington Steele, yes. So that was what he was most known for at the time. And my IMDb just took a giant shit.
Shout out to Carlito, by the way, because we obviously love having him when he can join us, but he couldn't be here tonight. He is a part of the squad, way more so than Fire Guy Ryan will ever be, and just wanted to kind of, I know he's a busy guy, so when we get him, we're very blessed, and we're just missing him tonight.
I always make sure to put him in every one of the trailers.
I love that.
He's not here.
One of my favorite thing about the trailers.
I was about to be upset that I wasn't Last Action Hero, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but then Sean Connery's not a bad.
I was gonna say,
if you're not gonna put me as that one, I'm okay with Sean Connery.
Right.
So
yeah, I just thought, I was like, all right, I have to have bearded as somebody distinguished with a beard.
you can't get a whole lot more distinguished than Connery.
I mean, I know I don't have the salt, as much salt as John does and Sean does.
Yep.
He almost got Connery from Medicine Man, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do him a favor.
What if it was just me and John were both Sean Connery? Like,
or maybe I was going to make you Arnold and Carl Weathers.
I mean, that works too.
Arms clasped together.
Yep.
See, this is why I wanted to bring it to the table, JP. This is why.
Right. So let's talk about those first two, like what you mentioned to be like iconic bangers, Predator and then Die Hard, like right off the bat, like iconic action movies.
Some things about Predator I found super interesting.
Sure.
The budget was between 15 and 18 million. They're not exactly sure. So phenomenal what they did with the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all on the screen, man.
It did 98.3 million at the box office total.
Wow.
Not bad for the return.
No. Yeah, right.
Jean-Claude Van Damme was cast as the Predator originally.
I knew that.
He whined and complained constantly that it was too hot, and he passed out.
And they also felt like he was too short because they wanted him to go up against Arnold, and he wasn't tall enough.
Stan Winston did the effects.
Could you imagine if the Predator just did like a split over the trees, just like?
They changed the suit also.
The viewer can't see this right now, but my legs are trying to do like
I know exactly what you're doing.
And it's fantastic.
I'm assuming that it's like parallel to the bottom of the screen.
Yes. And if it wasn't for YouTube, I'd be in my boxers doing it.
Stan Winston redid the effects in the suit because the original suit was ridiculous looking.
Oh, really?
Yes. And
so does that mean they just reshot all that stuff at the end?
Well, they had a test suit.
Oh, okay.
And that's what Jean-Claude Van Damme was mostly wearing at the beginning. And they're like, no, this is terrible. Let's change it up. It was more alien-like and less humanoid. And
so the splits would really work.
Kevin Peter Hall replaced him, who was Harry from Harry and the Hendersons.
Yes.
Great movie.
And the crew had to hire security to keep Sonny Landham, Billy, away from the other crew members and Arnold Schwarzenegger because he liked to get drunk and start fights with the other castmates during the night.
That's hilarious.
Sounds like John.
So I will also, this is not a fun fact. The movie was shot, the jungle sequences, at least in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And that was like the getaway spot my mom loved to go when we were kids because it was a very short airplane flight and very
Love
reasonable.
Boat used to go there constantly.
They have a giant, like billboard to tell you where to turn off the main road to go up into the jungle where they shot the movie. And when I was a kid, we used to go up there. They have the waterfalls that he goes down, like the ones that he like slips down. They have like a burnt out wreckage of a helicopter that was there that you could take pictures in front of and climb in and out of. Like, it was cool. When we were kids, we were like, this is the dopest thing ever.
John McTiernan refused to eat the food there because he was afraid of his stomach. Having problems with the food. The cast got what they call traveler's diarrhea for a week from the water because the hotel water was not purified.
Sure.
And
it is Montezuma's revenge territory.
Carl Weathers would not go work out with the rest of them in the morning. He'd go at 3 a.m. because he didn't want them to see how he wasn't naturally built like them. And then when they would go in the morning, he would just smoke cigars and jog with them.
Make them think that he was just naturally that way all the time.
And the behind the scenes documentary said that basically every morning was a pose off with them all getting oiled up before they worked out.
Nothing wrong with that.
Why did we not oil up before this episode?
Right. I didn't say I didn't. I will mention too, like as far as the food poisoning or the sick illness on set, I always loved the stories behind Raiders of the Lost Ark. How like every person who worked on that movie, all the crew, all the actors, everybody was getting horribly sick the whole time that they were making Raiders, except Steven Spielberg, because he brought all of his own food and had it shipped in regularly, and he would eat nothing that was there. He was always on this very strict regimen of whatever they were shipping him from the States, and everybody else horribly ill, including, of course, Harrison in that famous like sword fight that turned into a gunfight scene because he was so ill.
The best scene of the movie.
Yeah. He was so ill that day he couldn't shoot, and that poor actor who had practiced so hard on the sword fight didn't even get to do what he practiced.
But it worked out well.
But it worked out really well. And Steven Spielberg is still like, it was a great shoot. Like, I had no problems.
That's like the most elitist thing ever. Like, your entire crew is just
everybody
down. And your
and
actors
are power bars or whatever. Whatever it would have been in 1979 or whatever, 80 when they were shooting that.
Is it 1980 or 80?
The movie came out in 81, so I'm not sure how long the shoot.
I remember it was right after Return of the Jedi, like shortly after.
No,
that,
it wasn't. It
or
was
did it
before.
come out before
after,
Jedi?
After Empire.
Oh, okay.
So Empire was 80, and then this.
Oh
came
yeah,
out 81.
Because Return of the Jedi. Return of the
Yeah.
Jedi is when
83.
Harrison Ford started "Please kill me" in this movie.
Yes.
Like, get me out of here.
Mhm.
And they're like,
sorry, I didn't want
no.
to take us off of McTiernan movies, but it seemed very similar, and I thought it was so funny how that director avoided the problem in that case.
Yep.
This was very much the Expendables before the Expendables, because this was like every action hero buff dude ever created in one movie.
Shane Black.
Yes. Which I didn't realize until today.
Oh, you didn't know that till today?
No. Stranger Things.
Oh.
They named so many characters, even the town, after Predator. Hopper, the sheriff. Yep. They found the body of Hopper. Hawkins, after Shane Black. They were very inspired. I never put that together.
A lot of 80s love in that Stranger Things. If you really dive deep, you get a lot of good things out of that.
I did have a reaction today watching it that I didn't before.
Let's hear it. I'm
Bill
intrigued.
Duke as Mac was kind of heartbreaking to me by the end of his run. I'm still befuddled by a couple of things in this. Billy getting up on
some fun tonight. We're gonna have us some fun tonight.
Long tall Sally, Chinese, gonna have us some fun tonight. Yeah, some fun tonight.
I love Bill Duke. I think he's not only just a great actor, but he's directed several great movies as well. I'm a big fan of Bill Duke.
Give away our position one more time.
Yeah,
bleed you out real good. Leave you out here.
Yep.
Quite an assembly of people. Even Poncho I kind of liked on this watch.
Sure. Yeah, everybody has a fun like flavor to add. Nobody's repeating anybody else's thing.
Right.
And I think that's what kind of makes it a great ensemble, at least because this is early in Arnold's life. So he wasn't like the big guy that he is now. So everybody kind of had their note to play that made it work.
One-liners galore in this.
Well, yes.
Oh,
of course. Knock, knock.
Oh, yeah. Stick around.
Dylan, you son.
Yeah. Dylan, you son of a bitch. And my favorite, Carl Weathers, like, some damn fool said you were the best. You've been pushing a pencil too long with the CIA. You're
Get to the chopper.
There's a lot of stuff. I
so many classics.
Like, also Billy with the Billy, what's got you spooked? Yeah, Billy, you ain't scared of no one. That's no man. We're all gonna die. Just Billy's got, and then like when he gets up on top of that log and cuts his chest open, I never understand that. I'm just like,
no.
All right, this is your big stand.
Something's happening there, but nobody knows what it is.
That's part where it's like really like that just seemed odd.
Yeah,
they just wanted him off the set.
There's like a point at which they basically all the characters decide not to do any sort of strategy where there's like 6 of us and one of it and we're all armed, and they decide like, no, we're gonna just one-on-one this shit. Everybody take off in their own direction and try to take this fucker out one-on-one. That's how we do this. Spoiler, doesn't work out well for anybody but Arnold.
No.
Well, the greatest overreaction to a boar when they're shooting into the woods for like 20 minutes.
Yep. How about this amazing movie that really shows how far and fast Arnold can run when outrunning a nuclear bomb? Like apparently you can outrun that shit. That's a legit like mushroom cloud that happens, and dude was right next to it like 10 seconds before it lit up, and he's like, I'm just gonna run. I got
the score by Alan Silvestri is great.
Yeah, great.
This it builds the tension.
Yep,
it's got all the big horns and the drums leading up to everything, and has that like tribal jungle sound.
Totally. Yeah, the horns so strong.
Oh yeah. So what were your thoughts watching this again? Or you probably have it memorized like I do to this point where like probably didn't need to watch it. Yeah, John.
Oh, I definitely have it memorized and, can quote it pretty easily. I watched it with the girls and, it's testosterone-y. So for them, they were just like, okay, I dig it. Like, it's all right. Right. They didn't get as emotionally involved with it as I do. So I really enjoyed it. It is silly, but I feel like it's not the typical Arnold tongue-in-cheek fare, and I think it works better because the focus is on survival and not on some of the. It's like Commando is tongue-in-cheek, right? And this is not that. This has definitely got a level of seriousness to it that works, especially when you get towards the one-on-one stuff at the end.
Bearded?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's Predator. It's a great movie. I saw it probably when I was in high school or college, so like 20 years after it came out. Like, so I don't have the same love for it as people like 5-10 years older than me, from that aspect. So
yeah, I mean, I was 10 when this movie came out.
Right.
Same.
So this was like a prime action movie for me.
Because this came out, what did we say?
87.
87. So I was 2. So I didn't get to see it I definitely didn't get to see it till I was in high school because
Sure,
my parents
I
were
was
like
11.
R-rated movies.
it's pretty It's pretty bloody.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
So
When they blow Bill Duke's head to just smithereens, that's
Well,
some
even
nasty.
when Jesse Ventura's chest gets blown out.
Right.
but yeah,
All the
so like I
bodies they
love it,
find
but I
hanging in the jungle.
don't have the affinity, affection for it as much as most people.
Okay.
But I respect it for what it is. It is really well done for a 80s action movie.
Which for me, like, highlights one of the things I think I like most about the director. If I was gonna like comment on like tropes or things about McTiernan, I think he is a really his movies are very tightly filmed. They're really well paced, and I tend to feel like he really packs in the thrills per minute. And in this case, I think it's a real tightly wound film that even when it's not a one-on-one battle and it's building towards that, you're still on the edge of your seat.
They gave each character enough that you kind of cared when they died or what happened to them, though. There was enough little character pieces to meet them, especially at the beginning with, I ain't got time to bleed. You got time to duck? There's just interesting little pieces. There's good one-liner dialogue that kind of makes you like them.
Which is like, I think Aliens by James Cameron is the same way. I think you
Yes.
connect to all the side characters so that when things happen to Vasquez or whatever, like, you've connected to Hicks and Hudson and all these characters that it impacts you when they die. What's up, TJ?
I knew that comment about I was 2 when it came out was gonna rile up some
It's
comments.
8 years. Come on, 8 years difference is nothing.
So,
it's weird because when I was watching this, I was like, man, if this movie came out today, same script, they'd fuck it up. They'd use digital effects, and it would kind of ruin it.
Maybe. I think it's definitely of its time.
yeah.
Because look, Prey had to go back and almost go like mostly like low key, low budget to kind of make a good Predator movie again. Like using what they had.
I think they also were wise in choosing an era for the Predator to arrive that didn't require a ton of special effects. They could just shoot on a natural, background or shoot in an indoor set that they created and not have to worry about laser blasts and machine guns and explosions or any of these things. It was all bows, arrows, spears. I mean, the horse riding training was probably the most expensive part of their budget.
And they said the dog was the biggest pain in the ass on the set.
See?
It never did what it was supposed to.
But I mean, she has a name. I don't know that you need to call her that.
I don't remember what the dog's name was.
I was joking about the female actress.
Oh no, Amber Midthunder was amazing, especially
She's
when
phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Especially when she played Moonstar in New Mutants. The movie sucked, but she fit the role.
You lost me.
I said terrible movie, but she fit the role. I'd love to see her actually as X-23 if they ever recast.
They already got a good X-23. She's already aged the right amount of years. Just keep her.
Yeah,
don't lose that.
So, like, pretty much we're all unanimous. This movie was
slaps.
A great first movie. Well, first big budget movie.
Yeah,
I love how Dan just completely just ignored Nomads. I'm like, guys, he came right out of the bat with the best movie.
It's fair.
But
just rewriting history.
We follow that up with in a year later,
Yeah.
with one of the greatest 1-2 punches ever,
Right.
Die Hard.
I think a lot of
might say
people, if
one
they
of the
were to
greatest
list their
Christmas
favorite
movies.
action movies, those two movies would
That
be
takes
on the
place
list.
on Christmas. Some would say a Christmas movie.
I'm saying only intelligent people would say that, but yes.
Just like Gremlins and Batman Returns.
You don't have to sell me on these things. Yeah, this panel knows and understands that if you have a rationale as to what makes a movie a Christmas movie, Die Hard's gonna apply. It's gonna fit. It checks all them boxes.
I think this, though, when you asked Dan why I picked John McTiernan, I think when I watched The Last Action Hero and saw that he did Die Hard, I was like, okay, we've got to talk. We've got to talk about this director, because I think Die Hard, what he did as a director, is one of the best action movies there is, hands down. And you got the action, you've got the one-liners, you've got the
pacing
part,
of the movie. Even
it doesn't feel slow. It feels, everything fits. Like, it is. I think this is the action movie. Like, Die Hard sets a stage for a lot of action movies moving forward, where they tried to be what Die Hard was.
Yeah, you had Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard in a bus, Die Hard in whatever. It was over.
Oh, that was Speed.
Speed.
I also
Cruise Control.
Alan Rickman, perfect villain.
Yeah, he's got so many great lines in that movie.
Tom Hiddleston patterned his Loki in the original Avengers movie after
I love it.
Hans Gruber.
Can't get any better than that.
So, a couple of facts about this movie: the budget was $28 million.
Wow!
Which, again, with all the explosions,
1988. That's amazing.
Theatrical box office $141 million. If you adjusted that to today, it's $208 million.
That's what all it adjusts to. Damn.
The role before it went to of John McClane, before it went to Bruce Willis, was offered to Sylvester Stallone, Richard Gere, Clint Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Burt Reynolds. I can't even imagine this movie.
Legitimately, they did not want Bruce in this movie.
Nick
He
Nolte
was coming out of Moonlighting, and they were like, "This is stupid. This is a skinny little New Yorker with who makes jokes. Like he's a comedian. He's not this guy. We do not want him." And this was in the middle of the Muscles era of movies, right? Your hero had to be just shredded. They had to work it. They just had to look like Arnold, just in Predator.
Listen,
Mel Gibson,
1988, 1989. That's where the director said, "You know what? Screw the big buff heroes. We're
Perry, you got to fix your keyboard. It put a question mark on it. You got to
they put comedic actors like Bruce Willis in the action movie. Then the next year you had Michael Keaton as Batman, and everyone's like, "What?"
Yeah,
which
they got away from the
action movies.
Yeah,
they cast.
They got away from the big muscles and more into everyday hero kind of people. And I think Bruce Willis is a huge part of that.
Yep.
The three last names on this list are the ones that make me laugh the most.
Okay.
Paul Newman.
You still got the list. Oh, wow.
Paul Newman. Wow.
James Caan.
Okay.
And my favorite on the list, because I start picturing him doing the lines, Al Pacino.
That is a good one.
Come on.
So I've read...
Come to the Christmas party. Ooh-ah!
I can't remember the title, but the first two Die Hards are both based on novels. It's not a series. It's two separate novels, and they just rewrote it with Bruce in mind for the second one. And the original novel has to do, it's by Roderick Thorpe, I think is the writer's name, has to do with a dad and his daughter. So it's possible some of those actors you're mentioning were based on earlier drafts that might have had a dad visiting his daughter at her job and getting stuck in the building. Because that's what the original book was an older guy, an older cop near retirement.
Nothing lasts forever.
There it is.
Oh.
And so it's possible that that's maybe earlier drafts. And then when they skewed younger, they made it husband-wife. And that was the plot that they shifted.
I mean, Cobra originally was supposed to be Beverly Hills Cop.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Richard Gere, though, as
John McClane.
Well, Richard Dean Anderson was another MacGyver. That was another name out there. But Al Pacino doing the lines.
Yeah, but like
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!
MacGyver could make sense just from
A little bit during that time,
especially with like what he did in the movie. Like,
yeah, because there's a lot of MacGyver-ish kind of tricks he pulls.
And then think about this. Oh my goodness. If you had MacGyver in Die Hard and then you have Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
MacGruber.
This is where it all started.
What if they do a MacGruber movie now with Will Forte and they just redo basically Die Hard?
They just take the script of Die Hard.
Will Forte.
Right. I mean, I would watch it probably. I would watch it.
Who wouldn't?
I remember Bruce Willis though, almost like the Michael Keaton thing, was like Bruce Willis, the guy from Moonlighting in this action movie.
Yeah, it was a big challenge to sell it, and his face is huge on the poster.
Oh yeah,
right there. Even the earliest posters it included his face, and he was not a big name at the time. Moonlighting was popular, but it wasn't like the biggest thing in the world.
No, and then you had a couple of people who were in Batman the Animated Series. The guy who played, I forget the guy. It's like Hans Booby.
Oh, the sleazy guy that I could go as Halloween very easily.
He was in the Heart of Ice episode, playing one of the bosses at Wayne Tech.
Okay, that's pretty obscure, but all right.
Mark Hamill was on Kevin Smith's podcast, and he was talking about all the people who were on the show, and that was one of the names he threw out there. Funny. So that's why I still remembered that.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned like action films that have no fat on them and are just lean and tightly paced. And this one for me it's up there with, I mentioned Aliens, and I think it's up there with Raiders of the Lost Ark as just movies that are so tightly wound, and there's just not even when there's slower moments to catch your breath, they seem to have heavy weight to them. So obviously for me, it's the pulling the glass out of the bottom of his foot scene.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the great acting scenes. I mean, you talk about what Reginald Vel Johnson's doing on his part of it and what Bruce is doing on his portion.
Whoa.
It's so good.
The statement you made, you talk about Heart of Ice. No, he's even more important in animation. He's Arthur Reeves in Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh,
see, better. That's a better draw.
Yep,
I like it.
So he was crucial in one of the best Batman movies of all time. So,
anyways, I feel like even when the movie slows down and has scenes like that, or has scenes where it's Hans and McClane together, but not really knowing if they can trust the other person. I think the scenes have just such great dramatic intensity. It just
and the setup though. I think the setup for some of those scenes to breathe and to have that space is like they start to do the stuff of integrating the scene of him on the airplane of talking about taking his shoes off, rubbing it on the carpet,
right?
Puts it in the movie that then it's a plot point later on. And it doesn't feel forced in there. Like it doesn't feel like why is he taking his shoes off in the office building?
Even better, it's used to great extent because when Rickman sees him without his shoes, he now exploits that weakness in the next bit. There's so many great little plays like that where it builds, right? Totally agree.
Also, like some of the quieter moments have meaning, especially when he's on the walkie talking to Reginald Vel Johnson. And he starts talking about how he shot that kid.
Yeah.
And he had never pulled his piece again. So for that to come back.
That's the glass scene, right? He's pulling the glass out of the bottom of his foot. And Reginald Vel Johnson's confessing. And then, of course, at the end, he's the one that draws his gun. And
with Carl.
One of the
main Roy things, Rogers, cowboy.
One of the main things for me that makes this a Christmas movie is the overarching metaphor is two humans who've put their jobs ahead of their families, realizing they should put their families ahead of their jobs. And she gives up the gold watch that was this like important part of her career, and it kills Hans Gruber. He shoots his last bullets and sets his gun down and leaves it to the next generation of cops to kill the last bad guy. Now, sadly, the next few Die Hard movies fuck that all up, but I don't know that it matters to me because it works so well in the metaphor for this film. And that I love all that. And
I
for
love
me,
how the
that's
tactical.
every Christmas movie is about that. Hey, take some time to focus on family, to focus less on making your job and everything in your life. And that's exactly the plot of Die Hard.
It's a reverse Hallmark movie because usually it's the big city guy that, coming to the small town girl, but it's the small town guy kind of going to the big city girl, like the high up. Like it's just.
But in both cases, right? Those movies are always about like, hey, I've been focusing too much on my job and I'm missing out on what's important.
So Dan, now you're going to just see Dan the next 2 weeks. He's going to meticulously cut and splice Die Hard and make it a Die Hard movie Hallmark trailer.
You could make a phenomenal Hallmark trailer using clips from Die Hard. It would work.
If someone hasn't done it yet, Dan, that's your job.
I'm sure it's got to be somewhere.
You know what? I don't know. Like they maybe cut it with Christmas music, but I don't know if I've ever seen anybody even make a short of it like that
as a Hallmark movie. Think about it.
I mean, listen, you had the guy with the Coke problem who sells everybody out.
He does.
I also Bonnie Bedelia is great.
She is
as Miss Gennaro.
Yep.
Oh, Holly.
This
and all the little twists on that too, because the first half of the movie is all about how she's not using her maiden name and all these things that don't give away to Hans who she really is. And I think, when he learns John McClane's actual name, he's still not convinced. And she's slammed the photo down early in the movie. So the photo's not even available. He can't even see that. So the way they build the reveal to when Hans figures out the relationship between McClane and Holly, like that's all beautifully set up over like the whole film.
What is your most iconic scene? For me, it's the ho ho ho, I've got a machine gun now too.
It's pretty good.
I mean, I think my favorite scene, again, I'm watching this from someone who I probably watched more movies that were based off of what Die Hard was before I actually saw Die Hard, to be honest.
Sure.
I saw probably like these knockoff Die Hard movies before I actually saw what it was.
Sure.
But I love the end scene where, he goes in shirtless and tapes the gun with the packaging tape on the back. And, I'm just like, that to me is like, it's a believable action movie. Like it's, from those standpoints, like, it's not like, oh, this wouldn't happen. Like, yes, it's over the top at parts with like jumping off the roof with the fire hose, sure, and the explosion. Right. But when it comes to like an action movie where you're like, oh, like that made sense to me of where he's like, hey, this is, this just hits. It's yeah. JP, we talked about that 20 minutes ago. You should watch.
I mean, it's hard for me to beat the pulling the glass out of the bottom of his foot scene. It just hits all the emotional levels really beautifully, and the whole time you're cringing because you're just like, oh my god, he's doing this thing to his foot. It's just unbelievable. And so that scene is incredibly high on my list. But of course, dropping the C4 down the elevator shaft is freaking amazing. It's so well done. Like it's just so just it's so good. It's so good.
The fight with Carl's pretty good, especially it's like, I killed your brother.
Yeah. You should have heard your brother squeal when I broke his fucking neck.
Yeah.
Look, it's a great because the truth that they pull from the film too is that he's this New York cop whose mouth doesn't stop. Like he just won't shut up. Even when he's fighting someone and getting his ass kicked, he will not shut up. It's so perfectly New Yorker captured, right? And he's just like talking smack, and it's just so the character is so well drawn.
That might be the most LA thing you've ever said, John, of like, oh, New Yorkers just won't shut up. Like hoity-toity LA.
I mean, I'm not saying we don't have our tropes. I'm just saying that they use that trope to capture his character really well.
Yeah, I know.
It's not inaccurate.
Dovetailing that, though, he antagonizes Gruber enough that he gets sloppy because he's so pissed off at this guy who's just a fucking constant thorn in his side.
Yep.
And he can't understand it because they have this great plan, and this one little like tick keeps burrowing under his skin. And now
we're going scenes. Of course, throwing the body out the window and welcome to the party, pals.
Yeah.
That shot, that well framed low shot of the broken glass and him in the wind blowing, it's so cool. Great shot.
Then we go to another movie that follows up that I will say I think launched somebody as a star, as a leading man, and that would be The Hunt for Red October in 1990.
And another huge hit, like the hits as far as keep coming, like that was a really successful film.
I'm curious, who are you referring to as launching the career of a leading man?
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin.
Okay.
I think this is what made him a leading man because he had done Beetlejuice not long before this, and
it was a huge deal when he got dropped and they picked up Harrison Ford to take over in the sequel. That was Alec Baldwin has talked about it a lot, that it was like he was expecting to be able to play this character for a long time and he just got hosed. And I know that what's the novelist? Tom Clancy was furious by everything that happened after this movie. All the ways in which they changed his books versus this was pretty close to his novel and has this incredible ensemble cast. I mean, Scott Glenn and Sam Neill, and it's just like wall to wall, just talented people. James Earl Jones was the only actor that got to last for several of these movies.
Tim Curry.
Yep.
Stellan Skarsgård. There's just a lot of great character actors in this.
Yeah.
And for this one, the budget was $30 million.
But I think it's probably paid mostly to Connery because the sets are pretty simple, except for the ocean scenes up, when they show the above water stuff.
Had a horrible opening weekend of $17 million, which you want to make most of your budget back, but its actual worldwide it did $200 million.
Yeah.
Adjusted, that would be $301 million today.
It was a huge book at the time. It can't be overstated, how much of a cultural phenomenon that novel was. And people said there was huge scandals around it because he knew a little bit about the Navy, but then had hypothesized things about nuclear submarines, and apparently was so close to the target that people were upset in the government that he was giving away secrets.
I remember you having an issue with them switching from Russian to English.
Yeah,
we talked about it before.
I don't. I think it's genius. I think it's actually one of the best filmmaking tricks that they pull. Obviously, before they switch from Russian to English, the accents are very thick, and his Scottish accent is still really intense. But what I really liked was that they stuck with it for a certain time, and then they have that spot where Connery is reading, and the camera goes in on his mouth, and it switches from Russian to English and then pulls away. And the rest of the time when they're in the sub, they allow them to speak in English until the Americans join, and then it flips back. It's just beautiful. I think it's beautifully executed trick to allow actors to use their own accents.
Yeah. Well, because it also, that's what we do. You see that in comic books all the time, right? Or where they have the little accents. Because let's be honest, people don't want to read subtitles in movies. That nine times out of 10, your average moviegoer doesn't want to. So they had to find a way to do that while it's still okay, well, why would the Russians be speaking in English? And so it's brilliant. This is actually probably my first ever John McTiernan movie.
You remember distinctly seeing this?
Well, I don't know if I saw it in theaters or if I saw it when it came out on video, but I know for a fact. I'm sure I saw it on video or on
1990
because my dad was a big Tom Clancy fan. So he read all the Jack Ryan books. My mom is a big Sean Connery fan. So this was just the best of
everybody gets something.
My family. Everyone got something they wanted. And so I clearly remember seeing Hunt for Red October because it also wasn't a super uber, it wasn't a Predator. It wasn't a Die Hard action film like that.
It was a political intrigue kind of thriller. I mean, it had action, but it was very underplayed until you get to the climactic kind of ending stuff. It was far more almost like a mystery to be solved. And I think it was really well handled considering how dense and complicated his novels are. This is easily the best example of getting it all right and how challenging it is to have all of these characters across all of these locations. There's, 3 different submarines. There's aircraft carriers. There's people in the CIA in Washington. There's people at the Kremlin in Russia. It's like this movie is all over the map, and you're seeing all these different characters, and you got to keep track of how they're related to each other, who's lying to whom. It's very complicated.
Yep.
So Baldwin was the third choice.
Okay.
For
that's
role.
the big role. So I know that they had after they
went to Costner first.
Costner. Okay.
But he left he bowed out because he wanted to do Dances with Wolves.
And he isn't Costner in the most recent Jack Ryan movie they made with Chris Pine? Yeah.
I believe so.
Shadow Recruit or something.
Harrison Ford was second. He turned it down.
Yeah, because he didn't want to be a second banana to anybody. He wanted, which is why Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger got changed so much from their novels, is because to give a focus of one hero instead of all the characters.
Filmmaker John Milius.
It would be fun if they ever went back and made a TV series focusing on these books from the beginning, set them in the era when they came out, and treat them like the ensembles that they were. I mean, I like the Jack Ryan show fine with Krasinski, but I think they could do a really cool show set in the 80s or whatever, following these books better.
John, since you brought up the show, who are your guys' favorite Jack Ryan? Because you've got Baldwin, Ford, Krasinski, Pine, and Affleck.
Because Affleck was Sum of All Fears. Yeah,
the Affleck one wasn't bad.
I don't hate any of the movies. I think the Chris Pine one is my least favorite.
He's the least intense of them.
I don't hate any of them. The show's pretty good, JP. The show's pretty solid.
I haven't seen it yet.
They did a Without Remorse show with Michael B. Jordan that I have not seen, and that's based on a Clancy book. That's a really good book too.
I need to watch it. I haven't seen it yet.
Ooh, that's tricky. I mean, it's hard not to pick Alec Baldwin.
Costner would have been solid, but I don't think he had Baldwin's intensity, because Baldwin is just
dogmatic, right? Super focused. Yeah. I do love what Harrison does in his 2 movies, but they're so there's such shadowy reflections of what those books actually are. Is it fair to put that on Harrison because he caused it, even though his performance as Jack is still really good in both films?
I can't help it.
But obviously he wants to be the lead. He wants to shoot the guns, kill the bad guys, and do all the cool stuff. And that's not Jack. Technically, Jack is an injured war vet. Like he was crippled. He in a helicopter crash. He should be the guy who sits behind the desk and just happens to get sucked into stuff. That's the original stories have him recovering from a helicopter crash. John Clark is definitely the man of action, especially in the later books. I'd probably go Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. It's hard not to think of how Baldwin just sabotaged his own career between his personal life shit going on with Kim Basinger and just, becoming a pain in the ass on sets that he got known for. But I liked his later career as a character actor. I mean, fuck, Glengarry Glenn Ross, he's
30 Rock.
30
Rock's a great show because of him.
So
he and Tina Fey make that show work. Exactly, JP. That's a great point. And so, I mean, as much as I love Harrison's performance in Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger, those are lesser Jack Ryan movies.
I would agree. I mean, they made money, but I don't think
they made a ton of money. Sure.
I mean, it's Harrison Ford, of course.
He's great, and he gives some great speeches in both of those movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is the benchmark for anything in the Tom Clancy world. It has to be an ensemble piece, and you have to really give every character a chance to shine. So that when Courtney B. Vance comes in, and you're like, "Oh, that's Courtney B. Vance, that's cool," and he's got his little scenes at the radar, you're like, "This is going to be something. It's going to become they're just checking out whale sounds." But no. It's showing you in advance what he can do, so that when he hears that silent sub, he's like, that's not normal. That's an unusual, that's a new thing. And we're going to track this. And that makes now it pays off that Courtney B. Vance's character is not just Joe Schmo in the background.
better Connery movie comeback, this or The Rock?
This. He's better in this by far. I like this. I mean, he didn't need the comeback at this point. He needed it for The Rock, but this is a better. I like this movie by far, way better.
Sam Jackson.
You're comparing John McTiernan to Michael Bay. I just want to say that's offensive to me.
I mean, yeah, but The Rock though is still one of my favorite movies.
It's an entertaining ass movie.
It's a very entertaining movie, but for me, it's mostly because of Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, but I think it works. I think it works because of how much different Sean Connery's character is than Nicolas Cage.
Sure.
So,
yes, they underused Sam Jackson's character in the Patriot Games. He was very good.
I would have loved to see McTiernan get his hands on like Nick Cage in a movie, or McConaughey, during the McConaissance.
Yep. I wonder if Harrison coming in meant that John McTiernan couldn't direct the Patriot Games movie.
I don't know. I still would push back too that he needed The Rock to relaunch his.
Oh yeah,
his career was probably more in need at that point, you know.
Especially after that,
I don't know if it was still in need. He still had good movies before that, in between there.
Yes, I agree. JP, well read on the Tom Clancy. I didn't realize.
Also, I think this was shortly after this movie that Connery did that Barbara Walters interview where he talked about slapping women. So he had a long break in between, or maybe it was after Medicine Man. I was
going to say Medicine Man. It might have been in the interview portion for Medicine Man, because this is the next movie in McTiernan's filmography is Medicine Man, and it was kind of his first failure.
Yeah. So this was 90. Medicine Man was 92. Then Connery's next movie was Rising Sun with Wesley Snipes, 93.
Last Crusade was 94 or 92.
Last Crusade was 89.
Holy shit.
And then you had First Night in 95 and Dragonheart in 96. And then
First Night.
First Night, man.
See, I think after The Rock, it was when everything went down, because then you had Avengers, Entrapment. Finding Forrester was good, and then League of
Avengers.
I think Julia Ormond had too many movies in a row where she was the center of several people's affections. She needed to break out and do something different instead of having everybody ogle her.
Yeah, but man, First Night was so good. So good.
Did you really say that?
I did. Heck yeah, I did. I liked First Night.
I'll take Legends of the Fall over that every time.
Oh, man,
fuck that movie. I've never finished it. I fell asleep every time.
Richard Gere was on point during First Night.
No, I'm talking about Legends of the Fall.
Oh, I know.
I fell in love with Brad Pitt, man.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was
hot garbage.
2003.
Hot garbage.
Oh,
that
was his last movie.
My wife will, to this day, call that her least favorite movie of all time. And she was forced to watch it because she was in it. There was a nasty heat wave up in, I think, San Francisco, and the only place she could get air conditioning was in the movie theater. So she made sure she went to see a movie almost every day, and that was one of the days. And she's like, I couldn't leave because I wanted the air conditioning, and this movie was atrocious. But let's talk about Medicine Man. Nice to know that's what's her name from The Sopranos when got her career going early.
Which one from The Sopranos?
The therapist from Sopranos is the female lead, Lorraine Bracco or whatever. Is her name?
Dr. Malfi.
Yeah, she's the female lead that comes to help Connery with his crazy experiments into apparently ants.
I have no memory of this movie. I remember it coming out. I
saw this a ton because it was always on HBO when I was a kid. It seemed to always be freaking playing.
I remember this movie a ton because A, I rewatched it. I checked it out at the library. That was the only way to watch it.
Nice.
And B, my mom was a big Sean Connery fan. So
there you go.
Again, I watched, hence why I can quote you First Night, because Richard Gere and Sean Connery, right up my mom's alley. So so Medicine Man, I watched more times, and as a 7-year-old, probably ever needed to watch Medicine Man.
Is her name Lorraine Bracco? What is her name?
Lorraine Bracco.
I did say it. Okay. Yeah. So this is the first time I ever saw her in anything.
$8 million opening weekend with a $40 million budget.
Oof.
This was after Goodfellas.
Yeah, Goodfellas was 88.
90. Goodfellas was 90.
Okay.
I'm
this
only
was
saying that 'cause I'm
92.
looking on my computer. I'm not like
This
I'm
is-
a knowledgeable.
This is
Before
92.
she was
yeah.
Karen, you killed us, Karen. Yeah.
So I think this movie is not awful. I think this movie gets a lot of crap. It's
By
not
Walt Disney.
great either,
It's not.
but it's not horrible, and
In-
it's entertaining enough.
When's the last time you saw it, though, John?
It has been a while.
I'm just asking because I did for this show. I rewatched.
I didn't
it.
feel the need to watch it because I'd seen it so many times.
It doesn't hold up well.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
What's the
He
reasoning?
comes off.
Is this
he
like
does-
white man savior complex stuff?
Yes. White
No, I'm
man
serious because it is.
That doesn't exist.
It is, and he just very. This is where Dan, where you said his interview where he said sometimes you need to slap a woman, like
Yeah.
it comes across like that in this movie
Sure.
as like
I
very
got those
much
vibes even when I was watching it as a teenager.
so
I
like
got those
I
vibes.
like that almost is like he's not. It almost comes off like after that interview. Then if that's when it was, is like, did you act in this movie? Because that sounds very much like what you want. And I love Sean Connery, so like I don't want to talk bad about, but like it just
No, he has the same Clint Eastwood vibe where you're like, clearly this guy's got misogyny in his veins.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up well. It was a very loose and slow moving plot story. Like things don't connect real well. And I'm like, ugh. So I get why you go from Predator, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October to then this. It's going to be like it's going to get backlash.
Yeah, your first bomb. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what it went against at that time at the theater because
I have no idea.
it came out April of 1992 or February of 1992.
February release. That's not going to be a good thing.
No, already that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
Like it's just
especially back
like,
then. That was a big deal back then.
You want to know what it came up against?
All right.
The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Fried Green Tomatoes, and the number one movie, Wayne's World. In February.
I mean,
those
honestly,
are
that's
all.
three
I would
fucking
watch
monster
all of those
movies.
movies again before I would watch Medicine Man.
Wayne's World's still really rewatchable.
The top 10.
Yeah, it is.
Top 10 was Grand Canyon, JFK, Father of the Bride, Beauty and the Beast, Shining Through, Final Analyst, then Medicine Man at 4, and then the 3 I had talked about.
Yeah, this is clearly coming out of the Oscar season.
Ever.
JFK is still up in the top 10 or whatever.
Those were in December too. Those movies came out.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, they were still holding in the box
strong.
office. Yeah.
Oh, Hook was 13, and it was in December too.
Yeah.
Fuck that movie. Oh.
What?
Not a big fan.
Are we putting some slander on Hook right now, gang?
Hook is terrible.
If I took all of Spielberg's movies, that definitely falls near the bottom of the list. But I mean, the guy's got some of the greatest movies of all time. Sorry, Greg. Sorry. I know it's got some childhood love from you, brother. I can tell. and Greg never was on this channel ever again.
I'm just contemplating like bringing out my entire Hook.
No, because the next movie we're going to talk about is the one you got all your gear out for already.
I didn't get it out though, but it's sitting right there. It's right there.
I like the concept of what they were trying to do with Hook. I don't think it works on any of the levels. I think every performer is off, whether way over the top or just nothing like what that character. I mean, Julia Roberts is downright horrible in this movie. Like she's awful.
As Tink, yeah.
I don't particularly care for Hook. I do think Dustin is just all over the map and just it's just not great. And I don't like Robin. I don't think Robin is a good. I think all the actors are miscast, and I don't like any of it. And then the tone of the movie just feels shoddy.
I'm gonna have to freaking do a Hook retrospect and put some love on this because y'all.
So Greg, we're gonna have to do a show now.
If you had picked movies, though, that's the problem.
No. I just ordered Dick Tracy the Blu-ray, which is very hard to attain.
If you all start slandering Dick Tracy,
no. I just ordered it to rewatch it because I haven't watched it since it originally came out. Because you have talked about it so much. I ordered an overpriced Blu-ray of it.
There's no such
So-
thing as an overpriced Blu-ray.
Oh no, it's out of print badly.
I don't have any problems with Dick Tracy. It's exactly what it should be. If you know what that universe, what those characters, what those comic strips are, that's exactly what it should be. The problem is people wanted it to be something different, and that's
So
why the
soon
movie was not.
I'll be ready to do a show
popular
of Dick
hit.
Tracy with you for the movie.
I don't know that I love
Yeah.
Madonna in her part, but I'm fine with how it came out. That was my only problem with that
And
movie.
it is it's probably one of the first Oscar-winning comic book movies, but that's neither here nor there either. So
Dick Tracy won an Oscar,
But
yeah, for best costume,
costuming.
makeup,
And-
makes sense.
and
I think they
they
got
were
for
nominated
soundtrack.
for 3.
I thought they
But-
got soundtrack that year.
If you think I'm annoying about Dick Tracy, just wait, because Mad Cave Studios has the rights now to Dick Tracy.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
they're doing a Dick Tracy comic in March, and it looks like it's going to be a gritty.
Who's writing it?
Alex Segura, who did the
Riverdale
book Secret
and-
Identity,
Okay.
Oh wait, no, Secret.
which that's an actual novel. It's about a
Okay.
a comic book publisher, and there's a crime at the. It's really, if you like novels, it's really good. Alex Segura, he did Comixology. He's done some other Spider-Gwen or
Okay.
Spider.
Yeah,
Well, I also
Spider-Man.
would say the other
or-
part of Dick Tracy that
did Archie
doesn't-
work too?
I don't necessarily like the kid that they cast as the kid in Dick Tracy.
Well,
I
because you don't like Hook.
It's the same kid, isn't it?
It's the same kid from Hook.
yeah,
It's
God, I
Charlie,
hate that
whatever his
kid.
name is.
Yeah, I think he doesn't come off as a kid. He comes off as like how an adult would write a kid. Like, it's just a little annoying. It grates on me a little bit. And Madonna is hot. That's just why I'm willing to give her a pass.
She's breathless.
Trust me, when
But
I was doing this retrospective of trying to figure out who I wanted to pick, Warren Beatty was going to be up there, but it was literally going to be then we talked Dick Tracy and like Bulworth. So I was like,
What's the one he did about Vegas again? That was a great movie.
Oh,
About the casino guy.
yeah.
That was a solid movie.
It was a good. God,
Where he met Annette Bening and they got hitched. That was really good. That was a good movie. And I have never seen his movie Reds, one of the early films.
Heaven Can Wait, Reds, Dick Tracy, Bulworth,
Bugsy.
and Rules Don't Apply.
Bugsy.
Ooh, yeah, Bulworth, of course, but Bugsy. Yeah, but Bugsy is
Heaven
really
Can Wait
good.
was.
Harvey Keitel's got a great part, I think, in Bugsy.
He didn't do Bugsy though, did he?
I thought he directed it.
No, in his director role, his first one was Heaven Can Wait, then Reds, then Dick Tracy, then Bulworth.
Those are his only 4 movies that he directed?
It says 7 movies he's directed, but 2 are Dick Tracy specials, which
It's official.
don't
The
even
Black
count.
Delegation loves Madonna.
I could have sworn he directed Bugsy. Who's the director on Bugsy then?
because those Dick Tracy TV specials don't even count, but it's that stupid copyright rule that they have where he has to show up as the character to utilize it so he can maintain
every
the
four
right
or
every
5
four-
years.
So he shows up in these TV specials and he's dressed as Dick Tracy so he can keep the rights. I love Warren Beatty because he's
Does
Dick
it to
Tracy.
this day?
Yes, the last one he did was like in 2023. He just did one. He did a Zoom call one so he could keep
Yeah.
the rights.
Wow.
It's called Dick Tracy Special. Tracy zooms in.
It was on Turner Classic Movies or
Yeah.
something like that. It was on one of those.
Wow.
So
Ugh.
what I said about rewatching Dick Tracy, especially now because I rewatched Last Action Hero today.
Yes, let's
In
get to Last Action Hero. 'Cause I know
4K
this
no
is where
less.
This is where Greg really is gonna shine.
So here's the thing. I hadn't watched it since it originally released on home video.
Sure.
Yep.
And I think at my age, I didn't understand what, like,
Sharon Stone was doing in the police station.
no. I didn't understand what, like, that kind of, like, meta was.
Hmm.
And the movie is so meta in ways that I started thinking Tropic Thunder stole from this movie.
You're not wrong.
Yes. So I walked out of watching this movie today having a new appreciation for it, where in my teens saying fuck this movie.
See, Greg is. We just fixed all the Hook problems right
no,
here.
No, because I'm gonna go back and revisit where you guys slandered Hook, and I'm still gonna do a Hook retrospective because
we
that
said
pissed me
nice
off.
things about Dick Tracy and we're gonna say nice things about Last Action Hero, but you're gonna only remember the shit we said about Hook.
But this is why I did. I said, listen, and John, I'm sure you ignored me, but I said, gang, please go back and watch Last Action Hero because I wanted you to look at it from a standpoint of, I think it comes off as it's not your token Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It's like you said, it's very meta, and I think people remember it as like, and
it's Arnold Schwarzenegger shitting on himself,
right? And I think if you go back and look at it, it really does. I think it was very smart. From the aspect of what it brought to the table of bringing in the action movie, making fun of the over-the-top, absurd action movies of the day, making fun of Arnold Schwarzenegger of the day, you know, because I mean, it even has Sylvester Stallone as the Terminator in the blockbuster posters.
Yep.
And,
you know, making fun of Planet Hollywood.
This is the heyday of the Planet Hollywood thing where, those guys, and doesn't Bruce even show up in this at one point? I can't remember. Isn't he at the red carpet premiere? The red carpet, yeah.
So, and you have the guy who's playing Jack the Ripper showing up at the movie premiere, and the guy, and it's so over the top, and it doesn't make sense from like the action aspect of it. Like, oh, but that's what I think it was very meta of, like going like it's acknowledging, yes, action movies are over the top, and man, it is. I rewatched it, and I watched it with 3 people who had never seen it before, because I have a group that we watch a movie once a month. I was like, we gotta watch this, and they're like, that actually isn't like, it was an enjoyable movie. Like they thought like, oh, 1995, like this, I think 3-star movie.
Well, and it was scathingly attacked, and it very definitely so. It's kind of like Waterworld in the sense that all people remember is the thud it made when it hit the ground.
So it was attacked already for one $85 million budget for 1993, which was absurd.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Worldwide box office, it did 137 million. So like it made its money back, but that's not counting marketing. So the funny thing about this is, the writer hated Shane Black and wrote this movie making fun of Shane Black repeatedly in it.
And then
Shane Black came and did a rewrite on it.
Exactly. So for me, the reason this movie works is Shane Black knows what he's doing. And I think he, as coke-addled as he probably was when he was rewriting this, I think Shane Black is the reason this movie functions, even though it has all of his ADHD tendencies full bore. That's what this movie needed. And I think so for me, like, it has the same flavor of something like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And I think it works really, really well in the same ways. I don't know that it's like one of my favorite Arnold movies, or even like top 3, 4, 5 Arnold movies, but it's just
it's
fun.
Easily top 5.
It's just fun. It's just a fun movie.
It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
John
when you throw movies like Twins and Kindergarten Cop, there's a ton of movies that I think would rank higher than this on an Arnold list, because Arnold has a lot of really fun movies. Of course, Terminator 1, Terminator 2.
John McTiernan about the failure and critical response. McTiernan said, initially it was a wonderful Cinderella story with a 9-year-old boy. We had a pretty good script by Bill Goldman, who wrote Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Charming, and this ludicrous hype machine got hold of it. It got buried under bullshit. It was so overwhelmed with baggage, and then it was whipped out unedited, practically assembled right out of the camera, which is insane. It was in the theater 5 or 6 weeks after I finished shooting. It was kamikaze, stupid, no good reason for it, and then opened the week after Jurassic Park. God, to get to the depth of bad judgment involved in that, you'd need a snorkel.
So I don't know if you heard some of the other people like Carrie Fisher who worked on the script as well.
She silently rewrote some of it too.
A lot of Hollywood famous fix-it doctors like Shane Black and Carrie Fisher worked on this movie.
But I love the thing that at least for me watching this, I thought the thesis statement was hero worship. And listen, these guys are morons.
Oh yeah.
And he makes himself be like he made Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie a moron.
Yeah, and Maria Shriver was like bossing him around and telling, "Stop! Don't mention the restaurant. Don't mention the restaurant."
Yeah, and I think that's the part I like most about it because he's basically telling kids like these aren't heroes. They're dummies. They're told what to do. And if you listen to what Arnold's saying, like
it's a comment on actors, right? On the self-absorbed, wealthy, not necessarily intelligent mob of actors. It's Greg, I was going to tell you, but you walked away.
I was here and I was listening.
For my sister's birthday, I think she was maybe 30. We went to a Planet Hollywood, and Arnold walked through, and he took a picture with her. She was taller than him, but it was very meta, like this movie. So this movie always reminds me of the time I was at Planet Hollywood.
The one in Orlando had the 3 seashells from Demolition Man.
Oh, that's funny. I'm sure they were nasty.
So they opened a Planet Hollywood in Columbus, Ohio, when we opened this big outdoor mall in like the 2000s, and they thought it was going to be like the thing, and I think it lasted like a year and a half because like I love Columbus, but we're not a tourist destination and people aren't going to eat at Planet. But like for the premiere, like I think Bruce Willis was there. I think Sylvester Stallone was there. Arnold Schwarzenegger drove a tank for the grand opening and things. I love it. Arnold wanted to do it because he's very fond of Columbus because that's where he has the Arnold Fitness Expo every year. And so like all his people come for that. And so I did see Arnold and Sylvester Stallone eating ice cream at this mall way after Planet Hollywood closed. And they're both really short people.
I'm surprised he's short.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. That's right. Like Stallone, I knew about,
but I couldn't not. I was gonna not do this, but gang, look at this.
You have one that's still in the mint on card.
Oh, one? Let me just.
You don't have one graded?
Well, that's a different one. That's not the same one.
I know, but then, gang, they did an action figure of this that was literally in like 30 seconds, not even 30, like 15 seconds of the movie where he was Hamlet.
Yep.
Oh my God, that Hamlet trailer was amazing.
So good.
The kid.
Oh God. Another mediocre child actor.
The kid, the guy with the glass eye.
So great. No, he's so good. Great performer.
Benedict.
And then, of course, the most awkward action figure ever created. Jack
daughter?
the Ripper. Because,
Ooh, look what he's doing there with the hands.
Well, but his arms go up and down over his head.
Oh, lovely.
I thought it was the Danny DeVito cartoon cat.
They're just gripped like that. Poor Tom Noonan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You get one action figure, and that's what it gets.
It was an entertaining rewatch. Like, just
right?
Going into it with no expectations now, like, it was entertaining. And I was telling John while you were away, like, if you listen to what Arnold's saying, like, he's kind of trying to send a message to this kid the whole time of, like, hero worship. Like,
I heard it. I was right there just getting him off the wall. I was right there.
I
see the gap
I rewatched
action figure wall right there.
I rewatched it, I think, somewhere in June or July. Right around when Greg picked this, I was like, I should rewatch that. And I was already watching.
Jesus Christ.
I was rewatching Arnold is not 6'2". Arnold is not 6'2". I was not. I'm almost 6'3". But when I met him, I was not full height yet, and I was definitely taller than him. So he is less. I would be surprised if he's more than 5'10" in real life. Carlito, though, is here. Do you want to jump on, buddy? You let us know. We miss you, bud. We're into the worst films, though. We're into the harder to enjoy McTiernan films soon. So you're not going to want to come on and talk about some of these, I have a feeling, later.
Yeah, but we could also get Carlito's opinion on stuff because
he's always welcome. He's got the link. He knows where it's at.
Yeah. On a fresh view, I felt it resonated with me more. Like it wasn't as horrible as I remembered. Because when I first watched it, I was like, what is this? I don't understand what this is. But I also read a lot of media stuff about it before it came out.
I think I rewatched it around the same time I had rewatched Twins with the girls and Kindergarten Cop with the girls, and I think I still like those two better. I just think, you know, in general the movies are better for me, but I don't. It's definitely worthy of being in the conversation with them. Literally 6'9". Yikes.
The next movie on the list is one I have a complicated relationship. Die Hard with a Vengeance. I did not love this movie.
Did you rewatch it recently and not like it, or is this just
I
all
did.
time? Okay.
It's okay. Look, but the Die Hard movies were always kind of, you didn't get what you got out of the first one. Every one, it was like declining what it gave.
Returns.
Like we gave a Samuel L. Jackson as Zeus.
I think
But
what I usually say about the Die Hard movies that makes them not work as well as they go along is that the original film, you really were scared and felt bad for John. And by the time you get to the last few, you feel bad for the terrorists because they have no fucking chance. Those guys are in deep goddamn water.
Well,
and so the everyman thing gets lost so that Bruce Willis can be more like Arnold Schwarzenegger when the whole point of those movies was to not make him Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You're not wrong. Like, I mean, the aspect of what makes Die Hard work is he should win because he's this guy. However, once you do what he did in Die Hard, you can't reel that back in. Like,
Right.
you can't be like, and the only thing you can do is build off of that. I do, because I rewatched Die Hard in preparation for this, and then I went to go watch Die Hard with a Vengeance, and I said, no, wait, I have to watch Die Hard 2 because I have to go in order still. And so I watched Die Hard 2, Die Harder or whatever it is. And it was just trying to be Die Hard in an airport, and it didn't work.
Right.
What I do appreciate about Die Hard with a Vengeance is it tried to do something different and not be Die Hard, because it was Die Hard in an office building in the first one, then it was Die Hard in an airport. They didn't say, okay, let's do Die Hard now in a whatever
boat,
setting,
train,
or a boat or a train or a hatch on an island. I don't know, right? Like, it's like, hey, let's try something different. And I appreciated what they brought to it. And
sure.
And I thought and that was in the era also of, you had your kind of not buddy comedies, but buddy cop people. Like, so
no,
that was also
Shane Black movies had basically dominated, right? And you talk about Last Boy Scout, you talk about Lethal Weapon, you talk about I mean, the buddy cop thing was such a cliche, and he never had a buddy because Reginald L. Johnson was back east and he's getting fat. They wanted a newer, hotter, cooler guy. You know, he had Urkel hanging out with him, so they needed something else.
On TGI Friday.
They tie it into, the first one by why they're targeting him the way they are.
It's his brother,
played by Jeremy Irons.
I'm not saying it's great, but
no,
I appreciated it for what it was. If you're trying to do a third movie how do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it fresh? And especially when in a movie where you're confined to a building.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other one, you're basically confined to an airport. And at least they didn't have like a weird general who does yoga naked in this one. Like, they did in the second one, like
I will say Rennie Harland is like the 3 steps down the ladder John McTiernan. And I think that they made the budget choice to get Rennie for the second film, and that's why you got Die Hard.
The guy who made the worst Friday Nightmare on Elm Street movie, that's who we got.
But I'd say why the third one is superior and works is McTiernan's ability to pace and McTiernan's ability to set up action set pieces, whether it's the chasing the subway across town. There are several sequences that really resonate and are exciting and intense and filled with that intense emotion. It borders on satire because we're at that stage where it's so over the top, and there's moments when Bruce Willis is just hamming, and it's like, okay, I just struggle with it. Now, is it a bad movie? No, it's perfectly fun and entertaining, and there's nothing wrong with it. but is it worthy of the name? No, none of the movies that ever came after have been worthy, and they get far worse from here.
This is
so bad.
I will say any of the Die Hard movies that came after Die Hard, this is the second best.
Yes, I think anybody who says otherwise is wrong.
It's better than Die Hard 2, and it's better than any of the revamped ones they did with Bruce Willis, where he ramps a police car into a helicopter and
live free or die hard.
He crashes he crashes the truck into the jet and then slides off the wing.
But
amazing.
It does. JP says it tries to switch the motif and it mostly works, and it does. And if you think about trilogies, for the most part, the first two in a trilogy always is the same concept.
Yeah.
The Hangover trilogy. The first two movies were the same concept, just in different locations.
I've legit never seen the third film.
The third one, they tried to flip up the motif a little bit, and it doesn't work. Die Hard, building Die Hard in 2 was in an airport. They tried to switch up the motif, and it kind of works better than most times where you have especially when the plot or the scene, the setting is very crucial to the movie, right?
Sure.
No, Nakatomi Plaza is very crucial to Die Hard. And you have to have that. You have to have that.
It's so crucial that even in LA, they've never taken it down and rebuilt it.
No,
it's still there.
It's still there. I love going to see it. In Hangover 2, we'll take it Vegas. Now we're going to go to Bangkok or whatever. And then they try to switch it up, and I think they do a good job, as good as you can with that. So you're probably one of the few people that likes Carlito, which is
Carlito with the hot takes.
I think it suffers from most of the problems that Rennie Harlin's movies suffer from. They're just
him sucking.
They're just so over the top. They're just
cliffhanger
so over the top, and it robs all the juice of what the original had, which was understated. Everything was underplayed.
He's Michael Bay without the money.
You had who's the main guy? Who's like the airport guy? Who's in NYPD Blue?
Dennis Farina. No. Shoot. Damn it. I'm not going to remember.
But we've already talked about this. Just hop on the show.
I'll go a step further, Carlito. If Dan will take your comment down, I would say Die Hard is Christmas. It equals Christmas right there. It is Christmas. So maybe you'll get a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah. So
I'm happy to move on to the next movie because I do feel like it's, in my opinion, his most underappreciated movie. And I really do like it a lot. Thomas Crown Affair.
Oh, that was a good one.
I like me some Rene Russo boobies, and this movie gives me that full on.
Well, you took it in a pervy route I wasn't expecting, but whatever. Right off the bat, cool.
I feel this is the thing I'm gonna cut, John.
You're gonna clip this bit, right?
Yes.
I will say, I do not care for the Steve McQueen version of this movie. I think it's, there's a scene in Austin Powers when they recreate the chess scene and they're playing with the chess pieces and he's rubbing the bishops like their boobs. It perfectly satirizes the Thomas Crown movie because that scene is stupid and it's ridiculous that they're trying to turn chess into foreplay. That movie is so bad. I don't think the Faye Dunaway version is good. And I think this version, yeah, right.
I mean,
this version of the movie, I think, works better. And I think everybody involved knows what their piece is, whether it's Dennis Leary or whether it's, Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, they all know kind of what they're doing and how they can bring something to this. And it's super tightly wound. The real chess game that's being played is fascinating, and you never know how the twists are going to play out. And the big climactic returning things to the museum sequence is perfect. It's just perfect.
This is where I think John McTiernan does the movie world with all the plot twists, and you're like, this works. Where we'll talk about another movie later on where he's like, let's try and do plot twist like I did with Thomas Crown Affair. And
I
you
love
just
it.
go, like,
Now
ooh.
Gore Vidal pops in only when I talk boobs, which is fine. But Gore then hears me rip on. Apparently, he likes the original. Back in the day, Renee Russo was a fan cast for Black Widow. She's great. I love Renee Russo, and she's been in a lot of really good
Gore
things.
popped up when we heard old school movies. Gore like, hold on, let me chime in.
You'll
and
bring up
correct
Carla
you.
Gugino at some point.
Oh, let's not compare. But Renee Russo, I think, again, really talented, really entertaining, and she's very funny and quality in this. And topless.
Yeah. So Thomas Crown Affair had an interesting bunch of movies to go against. It finished 5th in that month.
It finished 5th in its first month of release.
Yes.
Who did go against?
Let's go the other four.
Sixth Sense.
Okay,
Well,
I'll take
that's
it.
not fair because that movie was killing everything in the box office, including Bruce
Number
Willis.
2, Blair Witch Project. Again,
Same. Like
people
that
wanted to see
movie.
it.
That movie was crushing everything in its path. This had no
Runaway
chance.
Bride, rom-com.
Yeah, that movie's not so good.
And the LL Cool J vehicle, Deep Blue Sea. With number 4.
The GTFO that beat Thomas Crown. Mind
Yep.
blown.
$53 million gross that month.
Wow. Gore, I fully
Bowfinger
support
finished right
that.
below it.
I'm glad that you're doing
Bowfinger.
YouTube Gore. I appreciate that. We do need to get together and talk Richard Linklater films. In fact, I would love to use this program and get Gore on to talk Richard Linklater at some point.
Can we?
Carlito, I fully disagree with. Carlito says watching you three is better than watching me try to hang with you three. Get out of here, man. You are one of the amigos. Although there's only supposed to be 3 of them. However, you could be one of the Musketeers because there's actually 4 of them if you really could get to the end of those books.
He had 2 movies out in the same month that year. I didn't realize.
Who did? Tiernan? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We're not going to get to that other one just now. Can we finish this one?
Can we make this happen though real quick? Because you said it in passing.
Yeah.
Can we get Gore on the show to do a Richard Linklater?
Richard Linklater. Sometime in the new year. I've told Gore he and I love Richard Linklater.
He'll be on your channel next, John.
A lot of great films. So I'm definitely happy to do that when Gore's feeling. I know he's had
Boyhood has a special connection.
Great
me and the missus. So
well, and I know, but I know Gore's having computer issues and Wi-Fi issues, and I know when he's got all that kind of ironed out, he's going to be ready and he'll reach out to me. But that's the one I really want to hear his perspectives on because there's a lot of great stuff in there.
Mystery Men, American Pie, Iron Giant all came out that same month.
Wow.
Inspector Gadget, which not memorable.
Yeah, well, then you got to bring that one up. Come on.
Haley
is as well.
Oh.
Haley wants to do Linklater. Okay.
The Phantom Menace was out that
I'm
month
assuming
too.
you mean the Shy Comic
Comic Girl. Yeah.
Haley?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense. Deadly Class, Gore, Haley, and I were all on with JP, and so.
Which I'm still upset about. I'm like the biggest Deadly Class fan.
Well, you didn't watch our show ever, so I don't care.
I've been watching as I read the I've been watching the replays as I read the trades or the hardcovers.
Who's to say I didn't?
Okay, so wait, Thomas.
You
Crown
never
Affair,
commented.
Any last? Wow.
Oh, you fucker.
Any last Thomas Crown Affair thoughts? Did anybody rewatch Thomas Crown Affair?
I did. I watched it.
Yeah,
I watched
it 5 months ago, apparently.
There you go.
The only thing I didn't watch was Nomads, and I did not get a chance to rewatch. Well, I watched Predator a year ago when Prey came out. So
right.
That was, I think those were the only ones I didn't rewatch. Oh, I rewatched everything else.
Because he's only got 11 feature films, so it's not like he's got the big. We're not doing some huge.
And I'm shocked, John, that you really are that desperate to get off of Thomas Crown Affair to go to the next 3 or 4.
I'm really
movies?
not. I want to spend more time, which is why I'm asking if there's more you guys want to say about it. Because
Thomas Crown Affair was a nice kind of rebound after doing Bond.
Yeah, I think it was a great vehicle.
It was something different.
Yeah.
It brought out a different version of him where it wasn't a totally snarky character. It was a lot of seduction. It kind of reminded me of weirdly Fabulous Baker Boys, if anybody's watched
Sure.
that movie.
Oh, yeah. I think in that way is of a subgenre that's not as popular these days, but of that, like mature, like adult thriller, right? You know, that I think these days is certainly not really a thing
He was
anymore.
still doing Bond though at the time, wasn't he?
I don't know.
It might have been at the tail end, but I thought he was done with Bond or real close because I thought Casino Royale came out right around.
No, Casino Royale came out a lot later.
That was a lot
99.
later. It was in the 2000s.
Okay.
World Is Not Enough came out in 99, which was the third one.
That was his last one, yeah.
The worst one.
So Thomas Crown came out in 99. So who knows which one? So you're not wrong. It was right around that time frame.
So John with the Cavs, like, are we doing Goldfinger now? Like,
she just comes running through. You know,
Bond. You're like,
John, scoop her up so she doesn't decide to climb around the slabs.
What are you looking for?
No, I expect you to die.
Yeah.
All right, bye, Carlito.
See ya, Carlito. Thanks for bailing on us, bro. Appreciate it.
Wow.
So there's 3 movies left. We're going to preface it by basically saying
Thomas Crown Affair was the last one that we cared to
watch any of the rest of these. They're not necessary.
Well,
unless you want to hear Giovanni
in a minute.
His amazing accent.
You can disagree all you want, but the next 3 are not worth watching.
I think Giovanni Ribisi's voice in Basic is phenomenal, but that's about all I'm willing to check the box on. You guys, I didn't see them, I swear. They were like climbing in the woods and they were like shooting their guns at me. I couldn't tell what they were doing.
Wasn't there another movie about basic training that had
he was basically channeling Buffalo Bill for the
it had James
thing.
the damn it, I can't remember his last name. The one who was in This Is the End and all those Spider-Man movies too. He played Harry
James
Osborn. Franco, yeah. Was that the one with him? There was another basic training movie with him in it. I can't remember the name of it.
He wasn't in this one. He's not in Basic.
I didn't watch Basic. Like
but let's go. I know you had something to say about 13th Warrior. Which
I can't wait to hear this because
I have not seen it, so it's one of the only ones on this list I haven't seen.
Okay, so 13th Warrior is one of those movies that I shouldn't like, yet I have this whole guilty pleasure movie thing with it because it's another dude bro movie.
Sure.
That McTiernan is famous for, and it's basically the story of Grendel and Beowulf.
Okay.
It's based off the Michael Crichton novel Eaters of the Dead.
Yes.
And it's about this cannibal tribe that's invading this Norse village.
Which is being run by a Spaniard.
No. No.
Okay. I'm just trying
Antonio Banderas is playing a Arab with Lawrence of Arabia with him.
Is this
Omar
like when
Sharif.
Is this like when they put Morgan Freeman in that Robin Hood movie?
It might as well be, yes.
Antonio Banderas' character's name is Ahmed,
yes.
Fadin.
Yes. And he says a prayer constantly, and the Vikings mock him, and then
yikes.
In the Vikings' defense, I mocked him during this break too.
Very much so.
It was bad.
Again, like it's a movie that's entertaining, and when you realize it's the story of Grendel and Beowulf, it's interesting.
It doesn't make it any better.
It is.
Is it?
For me, it is.
Okay, for you.
This is my interpretation of it.
I'll respect it.
I think it's possible I'm more interested in rewatching that awful digital animated Beowulf than this.
Oh no, you don't want to watch that. That is terrible.
And I'm
I
tempted
feel like
to
I'd rewatch that over the 13th Warrior.
That's where I'm at.
Wildly entertained by this. I really am.
All right.
Preach. Do you have the 4K?
No, it never came out in anything other than DVD.
I got the Laserdisc.
Shocker.
To be fair, though, there's never been a Blu-ray of 28 days later, 28 weeks later, because they shot it on Handycam. So there's no reason to have it on Blu-ray because it'll never get better.
And that's why that's the same reason why 13th Warrior is.
Because it'll never get better either.
All right. So this might be damning for me. I also love that King Arthur movie with Clive Owen.
So this is the part you need to clip right here. This bit.
No,
I've
1 hour and
30 minutes.
I might be a Clive Owen stan. I don't know.
I am a Clive Owen stan. I don't know if that's the movie I would stand.
No,
with.
like if you want to go like an underrated
Compared to the
Clive
Guy
Owen.
Ritchie one,
Shoot
it's
'Em
a
Up.
fucking.
Shoot 'Em Up is an underrated Clive Owen
Oh,
movie.
Shoot 'Em Up is awesome. Children of Men, awesome.
Just put Croupier on a loop. That's all you need.
But King
I think I've
Arthur?
seen that.
I
King
love-
Arthur.
Oh, okay,
I
wait,
love-
stop. Hold up. He just said he's a Clive Owen stan and he's never seen Croupier.
Never seen Croupier, unfortunately.
I mean, Greg, that's a crime right there, ain't it?
See, Children of Men, in my opinion, is his best movie.
That's an acceptable statement, but I do think you need to see Croupier. My wife and I saw that. God, I don't know if it was in an art house theater when we saw it, but we were like, "Damn, this movie's amazing! I hope they make this guy James Bond or something." And then later, he was in the Bourne film and whatever.
And then he was in Inside Man with Denzel. And
Great movie.
Yeah.
That's a great Spike Lee movie. What are you talking about? You don't like Inside Man?
It's
predictable. That was the problem.
I wanted to like it more than I did.
Okay. Have you just seen it the one time?
I've seen it a couple times. I feel like
Okay.
I need a rewatch. I'll say that. It's
I
been a long
think it's
time.
fun. I think it's fun. It's got an amazing cast, of course.
So I do
but
need a
Spike
rewatch
Lee.
of it.
But honestly, if we're gonna go Arthurian movies, there's no movie better than Excalibur. None.
Well, that's logical. That makes sense.
Are we?
Helen Mirren is a smoke show back then.
I don't know if you know this, but there's a movie starring Sean Connery and Richard Gere. Talks about
I do, in fact, know this.
It exists, but I'm not feeling it.
All right, Dan, finish your 13th Warrior diatribe.
because
Running
we're
out of
just gonna
time.
keep blasting on you until it's over.
Yep.
13th Warrior is fine. It's entertaining. Really do that.
I'm
squeak
going to
noise.
add a little splash while you're doing that. I need a little something to get through this.
I very much enjoyed it just for what it was. It's a popcorn movie, so to say.
Okay.
Like you turn your brain off, you watch it, you can get through it. It's entertaining. Yes, you'll mock it at certain points because it's kind of stupid. I enjoyed it.
Now, are you done?
It is 10 times better than the next movie.
Yes, if you want to get to the last of the drag here, because the next one is his worst movie.
Here's the deal. I clearly, in the rewatch, I dozed off during 13th Warrior, and I picked it back up, and I'm like, I don't think I missed anything worth going back and watching. In full disclosure, I'm being honest.
Oh, I love it.
I have a lot of.
So the next movie is Rollerball, the remake of the James Caan movie I've never seen.
And I prefaced this whole thing, and I said, "Listen, gang, I know I'm making you watch John McTiernan movies. There's a lot of great ones. Please, whatever you do, don't rewatch Rollerball. I did it.
I followed your advice.
I did it. I rewatched.
I've only seen it the one time. I did not need it.
I watched it for y'all to say, like, did I go in with like, oh, it's not, like,
I'm not going to judge it too harshly.
Right, because it's you got the.
I didn't judge it harshly enough.
You got the dude from American Pie and LL Cool J and Mystique in it.
Yeah, there was.
This is how bad it is. Gordon.
This is how bad it. Yeah, it gets really kind of weird. He's remade Thomas Crown Affair and Rollerball. He's just going back.
And I remember like trying to go in like because I feel like I remember as a kid like, oh, it's pretty cool. Like they're rolling around, throwing a ball, and like there's death and murder and betrayal. And I remember rewatching this for this thing like a year ago and going, holy cow, this is unwatchable.
Yep.
So this had a budget of $70 million.
Wow.
70 million. I don't know where it went. Cocaine, I guess.
It didn't go to
it didn't go to pay anyone because their leading actor they thought Chris Klein was going to be.
Yeah.
American Pie.
It didn't go to cast or screenwriting. That's
because Chris Klein literally has been in American Pie and that's it.
Yep.
So this gets better. Opening weekend, it did $9 million.
Yikes.
The adjusted box office was $34 million.
Yikes.
Worldwide box office, $25 million.
Eesh.
It did not even make up half of its budget.
Yeah, it's atrocious. So this is his low point. For obviously, if Predator or Die Hard or whatever are your personal favorites, I'm gonna go Die Hard, but like this is the low. This is the low. The other side of that coin.
Jean Reno. fresh off of Godzilla,
Yeah.
LL Cool J.
Wait, did you say
Romaine.
fresh off of Godzilla as
Which
if
was
that were like
another
a high
box-
watermark for him?
Godzilla was like 1997.
And trash.
Yeah.
Just trash.
The only thing
Yeah.
good thing about
That's what he did after that is this.
That was like 5 years later, and the only good thing about Godzilla was P. Diddy doing with Jimmy Page doing the da-na-na, come with me, da-na-na, da-na-na, na-na-na, na-na-na, come with me.
This is the bit you clip. Clip this right here. This is the bit. I changed my mind. Go to 1 hour 36 minutes.
Godzilla minus one has nothing on that. Okay.
Yes, I agree. I have zero interest in seeing -1.
So I rewatched
But I'll listen
this.
to Greg do that theme song to Godzilla a million times over.
I rewatched this and I couldn't even get a quarter of the way through the movie. I got through Miami Vice and I hated that movie.
Oh, fudge. That was my bad. Miami Vice, I take all the.
I
blame for.
watched all of Rollerball, so you didn't have to, and I told you not to do it. I said don't do it. I said you're not gonna come. You're not gonna argue with me, and you didn't even finish it. John at least listened to me.
I don't think you could have, forced me to rewatch it.
I'm
but that's
famous for
just
not
me.
listening, I guess. There's not a whole lot good to say about this movie except for apparently Pink was in as a narrator and a dominatrix.
All right. So moving on to the last one.
No. The only good thing about this movie, John, you know who is in this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Saeed.
Oh yeah.
Naveen Andrews has made some truly atrocious movies.
Planet Terror.
He is not an arbiter of quality film.
Well,
you think he just would go to his wife?
Defense, those movies came out after Lost.
You think he'd go to his wife?
Lost.
Barbara Hershey, I think, is his wife still, and be like, "Hey, you've picked great movies. Can you help me pick a good script?" Because she's not.
The movie The Entity.
Those bad movies came out before he had Lost,
right?
And then
I think he was already with her.
If
he was already, I think
you want to watch a remake of a '70s schlock movie, I recommend watching Death Race 2000 with my man Jason Statham.
Yeah,
Jason Statham.
Didn't Stallone write the screenplay for that
too? Movie, I'll watch Italian Job.
That's a good one too. I mean,
hey, we just talked about one a second ago. The Thomas Crown Affair works just fine.
I'm a Jason Statham stan, so
I can't wait till some big director redoes Rollerball in like 10 more years.
Fincher,
hard pass.
No, because I'll make you watch it.
Just give me Alita: A Battle Angel 2. That's what I want. Give me that.
Listen, from what I understand, James Cameron's got the script done.
I'd be down. That's a very underrated and entertaining
all right, Dan, take us to the last movie.
Right here, this one. Right.
I feel like John needs to talk about it because he's got a lot of thoughts about Giovanni Ribisi.
I think Giovanni Ribisi is hilarious in this movie as this odd, like, drug-addled, hospitalized homosexual guy who is clearly like the linchpin to all the drama in this military spy movie thing with lots of unnecessary twists of characters you thought were dead, but apparently nobody died.
Dear Lord, this was the most twist. Like, I thought the movie ended 45 minutes before it ended, and then they're like, let's twist it. And then you're like, let's twist. This was like Ocean's 12, where Ocean's 12 gave you like the plot twist that like it set it up where you had no idea what was going to happen because it showed you nothing that was going to happen.
Right.
And then just times 10 of where it's like, no, there's no way you could have seen the plot twist happen because they're literally like, we got to do 20 more minutes of movie. Let's just throw them for a loop and they'll go, how did this happen? Who knows?
You don't know, man.
We don't know. It doesn't make sense.
It's the unreliable narrator. So here's somebody once told me that aside from Kevin Spacey being a problematic actor, that Usual Suspects is hard to rewatch because you realize that everything he's telling you is just complete bullshit. Like it's just a complete lie. Ultimately, that's what Basic is, but they reveal it to you in really poor ways. That everything you're hearing is just complete baloney. And when you get to the end, you're like, well, then what's the point of this whole movie? Because we heard nothing true. We don't even know these people.
See, I've rewatched Usual Suspects, and it's so good. It's one of my favorite.
I do think it's entertaining, but I think it's a fair point, and it points out, I think, some of the flaws to Basic, besides overacting Travolta. But
Travolta and Samuel Jackson against each other.
Ribisi shines, and I would love to see his little clips of his scenes together. Where you're like, guy, I'm talking. He just can't move his mouth. Oh my god!
So
he's so good.
I would be remiss without talking about what got McTiernan blackballed from Hollywood.
Yes, I mean, what do you? Does anybody have any more basic? Anybody want to say anything more about Basic?
No,
what
but
say about it?
The only good thing is you had Tim Daly in it, who is one of the best voice actors of Superman ever. So. I mean, like that's.
Yeah, he's got.
You don't voice. Like Harry Connick Jr. as a very believable doctor?
Oh yeah. the doctor who's not good, and then who's the?
It's so phenomenal. You see, and at no point do you stop and say, "Hey, who's this great actor playing this doctor?"
The guy who with Giovanni is his name's Brian Van Holt. He was in the show Cougar Town, and I can't. I watched Cougar Town, and I can't rewatch Basic without thinking of him in the role of like this, like aloof, like
right. But I have nothing against Giovanni Ribisi. I think he can be very entertaining. I just think his voice in this is so distracting, but I like also can't stop listening to it. It's like Sling Blade, where you walk out and you're talking like Billy Bob Thornton. Like I watch Basic, and I just want to talk like. Giovanni Ribisi, guy. Like, I didn't know. It makes
me want to watch Gone in 60 Seconds now.
Right.
Him and
Nick Cage.
It's his brother. He's his brother, right? He's Cage's brother.
Yeah.
That's why Nick Cage
playing Lowrider.
That's why he gets back.
All right, I'm ready.
At this point, this was the era when he was like appearing on Friends as like the brother to
Phoebe's brother,
Pedro's character. But he's doing it, boy. It's so good. I can't get over it. Sorry. Okay, so are we done with Basic then?
Dan, take us to
the scandal that ruined the career of
2003.
On April 3rd, 2006, McTiernan was charged in federal court with making a false statement to an FBI investigator in February 2006 about his hiring of the private investigator Anthony Pellicano to illegally wiretap Charles Roven, the producer of his film Rollerball, around August 2000. McTiernan had been in disagreement with Roven about what type of film Rollerball should be and hired Pellicano to investigate Roven's intentions and actions. He had asked Pellicano to try to find instances where Roven made negative remarks about the studio executives or said things to others that were inconsistent with what he said to the studio. McTiernan was arraigned and pleaded guilty on April 17, 2006. In the initial plea agreement to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for lenient treatment, the prosecutors became convinced that he was continuing to lie to them and that he had also hired Pellicano to wiretap someone else, prompting them to seek a prison sentence.
Yep. He
hired new counsel and tried to withdraw his guilty plea, saying that his prior counsel had not conducted a proper discovery in the case. The judge characterized McTiernan as someone who thought he was above the law, had shown no remorse, and lived a privileged life, and simply wants to continue that. He was ordered to surrender to incarceration in 2008, allowed to remain out of prison on bail pending an appeal to the Ninth Circuit Court. In 2008, the prosecution had agreed to allow McTiernan to withdraw his plea rather than proceed with such a hearing, and the plea was withdrawn. Case was reopened later, no longer bound by prior plea agreement. After some adverse rulings on his attempted defense arguments and facing the possibility of prison sentence of more than 5 years, the various charges, McTiernan eventually entered another guilty plea. So he's just as bad at putting pleas in as he is with...
How many years did he end up? Because he's out now, right?
On August 20th, 2012, the district court judgment but allowed McTiernan to address the U.S. Supreme Court regarding his attempt to suppress the recorded conversations before being required to report to prison. His defense tried to argue that Pellicano had made the recordings for an unlawful purpose and that it should be made inadmissible. McTiernan surrendered to the federal prison in 2013 to serve a stated 12-month sentence in federal prison in South Dakota.
There you go. So he's
His
out.
wife eventually sued him also for wiretapping her.
Yeah.
He's in debt and bankrupt at this point now due to all the court proceedings.
Sure.
He has 2 likely projects on the future: Red Squad and Warbirds, with large budgets and significant likely future income, and plan to star in major well-known actors. And that was what he reported to his creditors. Those films have since not been made.
Yeah. It's
over Rollerball.
It's sad. Yeah, I mean, you can't save people from themselves, I guess, sometimes.
Over Rollerball.
Yep. So there you go. That's the tragic end to the talented
Take the L.
roller coaster career.
Basic was out in 2003, and that was his last movie.
Correct.
Yep. Gang, the dude has hits on hits, and he hasn't made anything in 20 years.
Yep.
Because he's
pour a beer out for. Yeah. Because of wiretapping. Like
over Rollerball. That's like your worst movie that you've ever made is also the reason like you went to jail. It's kind of poetic if you think about it.
Right.
But the hubris to it that he thought it's the studio exec, not me, that made a bad movie.
What he should do is make a dark comedy about this period of his life and direct it and produce it himself and get somebody who really, somebody really odd, get a Ben Stiller or whatever to play him and just tell his story. I think it would be the way to get back in.
And then have Shane Black edit.
Giovanni Ribisi comes in and does his amazing voice.
Giovanni Ribisi play him.
I thought Rollerball was gonna be mine.
It was supposed to be a good movie.
Oh, like the kid stays in the picture.
Right?
Yeah,
see, I think that's the way to get back in. Is it shows remorse, regret, and whatever, and he can remind people that he's still out there and can do this stuff. And then he's not totally crazy, but he can show his time in prison. I think it could be hilarious.
Yeah, because he's 72. He literally 20 years has gone by.
Yep.
Since he's made a movie.
I just watched the 4K of RoboCop. That movie still fucking holds up. The satire in it is amazing.
So you're saying Paul Verhoeven is your next pick?
No, it's Verhoeven and McTiernan are in that same window there, though.
Well, I think Verhoeven's always been more of a satirical filmmaker versus McTiernan is definitely more of a realism filmmaker in some ways. I think that they're stylistically different, but they certainly have their 80s and 90s big budget stuff was definitely their jam.
Oh no, we're gonna.
And yes, that's why I mentioned Ben Stiller, NorCal Geek, because I was thinking the same thing. It has that Permanent Midnight, Tropic Thunder feel to me, which is very Ben Stiller, right?
Well, what we learned tonight, Last Action Hero, not as bad as I recalled.
And if that's all that we got from this show, is that people go, you know what? I dogged on Last Action Hero, and it deserves a little bit more respect, then this is a success.
That's fair.
I honestly think I didn't understand what meta was back then. I was probably 14 or 15 when it came out, and then trying to figure out all right, the fuck was going on in this movie.
How many movies really had tried something like that? It was ahead of its time in the conceptual.
Clip John saying Last Action Hero was ahead of its time.
I agree. It was.
I've said it from the get-go. Clip it. Dan, clip this. Clip it.
He's definitely not going to do that.
No,
he's got the other clips to catch in here.
You have a couple, but
honestly, as a 15-year-old, I didn't understand what the fuck meta was, because meta wasn't really a thing back then. Really. Yep. Spinal Tap was the closest thing to it I understood, and that was more satire. Yeah. Rob Reiner would be an interesting one. Rob Reiner's got a lot of
I love Rob
Interesting
Reiner.
movies.
I just watched A Few Good Men with the girls. They hated it.
Oh,
Well, because they can't handle.
They were bored with
Makes
it. I would say they bored with it. A Few Good Men, the Tom
They couldn't
Cruise
handle the
one
truth,
when
John?
he's the lawyer.
Yeah.
They couldn't.
You liked it? Because you guys seem like you were like on your phones a
Who
lot.
said they liked it?
It's Charlie. You want to come by
Charlie.
and say hi to Greg and Dan?
Yeah, I feel kind of bad. I was just coming to ask if you could go to bed.
Oh, so keeping you awake? Well, we're almost done. We just finished. We're wrapping
Hi,
it
Charlie.
up. We're talking
Hello.
about one of our favorite Christmas movies. What's the
Die
Christmas?
Hard.
Oh, she just said it without
Hey,
being prompted.
Charlie, they got a new Dick Tracy comic coming out in March.
I'll make sure to get it.
John's gonna keep it off the pull list on purpose.
No, I'll send it to Charlie.
Oh, Gore says hi to you.
Bye.
All right, I will be done very soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, go brush your teeth.
Okay.
I gotta go to
So,
bed, but they gotta. Brush their
Yeah,
teeth first.
we're at the finishing up point. I just want to thank everybody for watching this very, very delayed episode. It's been kind of a process getting all our schedules to work out, and Carlito kind of really hamstrung us. I'm just gonna call him out on that.
That's all right. But
Um,
I'm impressed with how many of these we did end up getting in a year. So we did a bunch of these.
John and I probably will have a couple more of the vibe checks coming at some point.
We might do something different in the new year. We may not continue the films of series. We might do something different in 2024.
Actors.
Wow, gang, this is where Dan just said, "Hey, I'm gonna do more movie stuff with John and cut beers."
No. So we've been
No,
doing
no,
the
no,
vibe
no.
check with John and I.
No, it's fine. Do you?
Here's how the thing works. If Greg wants to be more involved, we're gonna have to throw him some more options. He's got to participate. He's got to get in here.
Listen, I'm here, baby. I'm here.
So-
I just didn't want to talk about. I didn't want to talk about Guy Ritchie when he does the exact same style movie for 20 movies.
Yeah, I didn't pick that
Every
one.
other one.
Gonna throw it out there. Greg did a great interview with my friend Rodney Barnes, and talked about his actual film and TV history quite a bit, which a lot of people don't bother touching on.
That's why I waited till after SAG so I could talk to him about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't dumb.
So go check that out. You've got Jason Aaron coming up.
Monday.
We could do
that one
a
drops.
3-person vibe check. We could get like 3 movies. That vibe together.
Jason Aaron interview drops Monday. So
Tessa and I have Philip Kennedy Johnson coming up next month. We're interviewing. We got a hold of him. We're just setting the date for him to come on and talk to us live. Gonna be talking about Last God a lot. Because
you should.
My
'cause
jam.
It's amazing. I got a signed hardcover from him in MegaCon.
can you
this
also
year.
talk about Green Lantern War Journal?
Oh, I'll bring up everything.
Yes, so
Because his
good.
last Incredible Hulk had one of the best transformation scenes
was
I've seen, where it was
disturbing.
just body horror upon body horror,
Disturbing.
and bringing me back to reading Superman after many years of not reading it.
Action Comics, baby.
And
You know who else is doing Superman Action Comics here in like 3 weeks? Jason Aaron.
I know.
I talked to him about it.
Hopefully, it's not like Avengers.
Who?
Not good.
Ooh. And this
And
Daniel.
for anybody, I know the holidays can be rough on people, so I'm probably when I get off of work on Christmas Eve, going to be doing kind of a just hangout on there. So if anybody's just not got family and just want to hang out, I'll be there. I'll probably be drinking. It's probably going to be sloppy, but probably not going to have a plan like normal. It was just a surprise when Tess is always here that we actually made show notes and figured out what we were going to talk about beforehand, which was a miracle
Count on
coming
Tessa.
from me. Yeah, so got that going on. John, what do you got coming up?
I wanted to just obviously highlight, I think it happened earlier, Toby, in the chat. Jen's GoFundMe is still running, and she's coming up on, I think, 6,000 left to get in her total. So hit that button. It's on my Instagram story right now has got the link for it if you need it. But it's all across social media, everywhere you can go. If you can't find it, hit
It's
up
on my
any
link
one of
tree.
these people. Yeah.
Yep.
We've all got the link for you. If you have a little bit to donate for the holidays and can do so, we're going to get her to her goal. We're going to make it happen.
And honestly, if anybody's just not doing well in the Christmas time, and you're not feeling my DMs are open. Like, I might not get back to you immediately, but like, I get it. I got no family left, so like the holidays aren't exactly charming for me.
Sure.
So like, if you need someone to hear you, I'm there, man. Greg?
He's dropping
Jason
interviews
Aaron.
like crazy.
So I mean, yeah, I took a break during Thanksgiving holiday, so I could just do stuff with family, and then so I could prep for Jason Aaron, because that's been in the works for a little bit. So yeah, Monday I'm dropping the Jason Aaron interview, and then I think probably Thursday that week we're dropping episode 1 of Mrs. Bearded Reviews Lost. And so we're gonna drop. So for the next, so the plan for my schedule for the next like month, basically, it'll be an interview on Monday, and then on Thursday night, you're gonna get Mrs. Bearded Reviews Lost season 1, then Lost season 2.
How many hours long will each of these episodes be?
I wish they were longer. We kept them to about 15 to 20 minutes about each.
Not even a single episode of Lost length.
No, but think about it. I'm getting my wife to talk about Lost, which will be almost an hour and a half to 2 hours when it's all said and done. And then at some point in January, we're gonna do a live show with myself, my wife, John, and Fire Guy Ryan. And
I mean, I would legit. I've told people that I will not become a channel member for anybody ever. But if it got me access to like hours of Mrs. Bearded talking about Lost, I would absolutely.
I am really excited to hear, because I've
Patreon, sign me up.
I've kind of teased John and Ryan a little bit on her thoughts, but I haven't given like a spoiler of like what she really
and
thinks.
I don't want it. I want to see it live.
So it's gonna be funny to see kind of the progression. We actually still have to record season 6 review because we just haven't yet.
Sure.
Because we did all the other ones. We did every review as soon as we finished before we got to the next season. And since we finished season 6, we haven't like had the pressure of we got to review this before we can move on. So I got Jason Aaron. The Lost reviews are coming up with my wife. She's been fantastic doing those. Josh Trujillo, who is currently writing Blue Beetle, is going to be up on as well. And then I've got a couple more bigger names on some interviews that are in the works being scheduled. And
I love it.
So yeah, I mean, just check it out. I mean, basically it's my channel is interviews and Mrs. Bearded Reviews stuff. So that's what you get, gang.
Also,
go ahead. Gore, I was reorganizing my bookshelf and I found that and I I remember I gotta read. So it's on my pile again. I moved it back up the pile list. So it is on my list.
Gore, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say Gore, she didn't throw the DVDs because we watch it streaming. But we did get to see Kate and Claire at Comic-Con last weekend from a distance, and she was fangirling out. Because we're not going to drop $60 to get a picture with them or autographs because it's expensive and
it is
Christmas.
stupid expensive. Yeah.
But she's like, I didn't get a good look at Claire. Can we walk by Celebrity Row again just so I can see Claire? I was like, absolutely, we can.
Also, my friend Gambit is still got sketch covers he's selling, and all proceeds are going to Jen's GoFundMe. He was drawing them live on our fundraiser show that we did. And he also is going to be on the next Cthulhu Kickstarter book being done by Travis Gibb, I believe. Yeah. So Gambit's going to have interior art.
So if I pay Gambit for a commission, it all goes to Jen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta see if I can do something.
Well, the sketch covers he's already done.
Oh, he's already completed them. Okay.
Yeah. So the third one is coming out soon, or will be coming out.
What is that?
It got funded, I believe.
The first one was Oz. The second one was Wonderland. What's the third?
He said it on the show when he popped up at my house when Tessa was here live, which was weird.
I forget. So.
I forget what it was too. He said it here, and I don't remember, but he's doing interior for it again. Nice. And also, Fire Guy Ryan, I think, is joining us for the Philip Kennedy Johnson episode.
Nice.
So I'll have someone else to push to get Last God talked about.
So freaking. So good.
But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. I appreciate everybody stopping by and listening to us talk shit. Bye.
Night Gore.